Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending our weekly soiree, Mondays with Mooche. We really appreciate that you're here and sharing this event with us. We do this every week on Monday evenings for several weeks now already, and it's been a lot of fun. For those of you who may not know, my name is Joe Mooche, which is where Mooche comes from as a nickname, in case you were wondering. Mondays with Mooche. I am the artistic director for Jazz Arts Project, a non-profit organization presenting and honoring jazz for almost 15 years now. We present world-class concerts and high-level education programs. Our guest tonight is very special, and you'll see how special he is, and I'm very pleased. I first encountered Trumpeter Byron Stripling when he was in the Buck Clayton band, so many years ago. As they say, back in the day, Byron had certainly earned his stripes as lead trumpet and soloist with the Count Basie Orchestra, and has performed and recorded extensively with the bands of Dizzy Gillespie, Woody Herman, Dave Brubeck, Lionel Hampton, Clark Terry, Louie Bellson, the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra, the Carnegie Hall Jazz Band, and the GRP All-Star Band. Jeez. Also, an accomplished actor and singer, Byron starred in the lead role of the Broadway-bound musical Satchmo. He had roles in movies, TV shows, and live productions, and that has filled his calendar ever since. Since his Carnegie Hall debut with Skitch Henderson and the New York Pops, Byron has become a Pops Orchestra favorite throughout the country, including appearances with the Boston Pops, the National Symphony, the Dallas Symphony, and the Toronto Symphony, to name just a few. In fact, currently, Byron serves as principal Pops conductor of the Pittsburgh Symphony and artistic director and conductor of the highly acclaimed Columbus Jazz Orchestra. Byron is also a dedicated educator and clinician. He is a resident of Ohio and lives in the country with his wife and their beautiful daughters. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Byron Stripling. He's here somewhere. Where'd he go? There he is.
There I am. How's everybody doing out there? Can you hear me? Am I muted?
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Good. And by the way, Joe, that intro that you gave me, it sounds like I can't keep a gig.
Isn't that the nature of musicians? Believe me, I know you've kept many gigs year after year, so I wouldn't worry about that.
That's good. Thank you.
So, geez, Ohio, huh?
So I'm in Columbus, Ohio now with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra. We have a similar name to yours. I've been there for 17 years as the artistic director of the Columbus Jazz Orchestra.
That's
the band
fantastic.
has been in existence for about 47 years. We'll soon be celebrating our 50th anniversary. And the organization was started by the great Ray Eubanks, who you and I were talking about before. He was a visionary. And the first time that I saw him was actually outside of Lincoln Center. I'd known him through the years. Right outside, he was at the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra concert. I happened to be in the band, one of the first Lincoln Center bands went and organized. And I said, "What are you doing here, Ray Eubanks?" He goes, "Oh, I just wanted to check these guys out because I've already been doing this for 10 years. So he was a visionary even before the Lincoln Center idea of making a big band a non-profit, as you have done also.
Exactly. Yeah, with the Red Bank Jazz Orchestra is my group. Also, as you mentioned before, our organizations, our non-profit organizations, have sort of a sister relationship. Ours is Jazz Arts Project. Yours is the Jazz Arts Group.
Jazz Art Group. Right.
Of Columbus, right?
Yes. We put the Columbus in there. We want everybody to know who and where we come from.
That's fantastic. Well, you've created quite a scene there. I have to admit, from the things I've been hearing about it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important things in regard to a nonprofit is, I think, collaboration. And so I'm proud to say that we've collaborated with virtually every organization, arts-wise, in the city. And so I've done concerts with the symphony, the local chamber orchestra with our big band, with the local ballet company, and three collaborations, one of which we got a big award for doing that. I've collaborated and done concerts for homeless people with the big band, where all the proceeds went to homeless people. We've collaborated with gospel choirs. We've collaborated with the local arts people by just getting people painting pictures while we play music, and having that music be inspire their art. And one of the cool things about that, we used one of the great local art schools, and we never anticipated that after that concert, people would want to buy those paintings. So we had to teach the kids how not to give their art away. And that was a fun thing to be able to do, because they're like, how about $10? And you'd see this amazing painting that they've just given. So, but collaboration to me and being within the community, what we know is that jazz uplifts the community. And it's very important. We can talk about later how important jazz and great music is and will be during this period of time. And so I think getting within the community, with all aspects of the community, totally diverse throughout the community, is the thing, and the way that jazz can uplift an area. And we're certainly proud that we have done that.
That's fantastic. Melissa, speaking of that, can you play the number B, that little bit?
I'm Byron Stripling, and I'm a musician with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra. Making music requires every fiber of my being. Artists in history inspire me, just like artists in Columbus helped to lift me up. So many foundations, corporations, companies, and individuals in Columbus know that art is important, and it's created an environment full of joy, passion, and heartfelt enthusiasm for the arts. Jazz is infectious and spontaneous. It's about life, and it brings us together in a way that nurtures all of us. I'm Byron Stripling. Jazz is my art, and there's no place I'd rather make it.
Now that's fantastic.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks for playing that. You know what? Whenever I see that, I have a different response. I actually get very nervous. So there were two of the ballet projects we worked with there, and Joe, I know that you're a conductor also. To have dancers come up to you after each performance and give you notes is like, they're like, you were just a little bit too fast on that last one and a little bit too slow. Because those of you who do or don't dance, you should know that they feel the music in their body. And so anything that happens to be a little faster or a little slower, they're going to feel that. So I had dancers on my tail all the time. That's why I refused to conduct the Nutcracker.
That's exactly right. I've had that experience also. And more so than singers. You know,
Yes.
a singer will go
Yes.
through it. A dancer, they get it right away.
With the singers, we're just trying to make sure they sing it in the right key. But the dancers are another problem.
That's right.
But no
That's
singer
exactly.
jokes on this call. There might be a singer here. So.
Of course not. Of course not. We love singers. We love dancers too, for that matter.
Yes.
But it's hard to keep their tempos straight all the time.
Yeah.
Especially on the spur of the moment on stage, where you have 100 other things to think about. You know, some people don't realize what kind of decision-making process you go through.
Yeah. What I found out to help me with that is, for the dancers, I decided I was going to do what they did. I tried to feel the tempo in my body, and I forgot, because you could go up on the stage and it's crazy with like 12 metronomes and like, okay, I'll set this one for this one, and like sort of freak yourself out. You just got to have that tempo in your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit. Because as you said, there's a million other things that are going to happen. Some guy to go, you didn't cue me at letter B, man. You know, so you're dealing with all that. So the music must always be in your body.
There you go. We are absolutely simpatico on in many regards. You also had a stint in the Louis Armstrong show.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been crazy.
Yes. So that was in 1988. I auditioned for that, and they had auditions around the country. And I did my audition. I was playing with the Count Basie band at the time. I saw this ad in the newspaper, the Musicians Union paper. Can you play like Louis Armstrong? I said, I've always loved Louis Armstrong. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try. You know, I went for the audition, immediately got a call back. And then we started rehearsals. We went to New Orleans. My rehearsal piano player that I did all my PR appointments with and all my rehearsing with was a little guy named Harry Connick back in 1988. And so we got to work with him during that time. It was great to get that New Orleans inspiration. My drummer was Herlin Riley in that, so he gave us the feel of the great New Orleans thing. So we opened up in New Orleans. We played there for about 3 weeks, and then we moved on to Atlanta, North Carolina, somewhere else, and then we did the Kennedy Center for 5 weeks, and then we did the Boston Theater. We did Colonial Theater in Boston, and we closed after that because the Boston people didn't like us, you know. But I still love Boston. It's a great town.
So a little too far away from New Orleans, I guess.
Yeah, maybe so. But look, it was a great show and a great experience, and in that I had a chance to learn about. I told the people I'll take this job, but you have to have a coach for me, acting coach, probably 6 weeks before. So move me to New York City. At the time I was living in Texas with my parents because I was on the road all the time with Count Basie's band. Mm-hmm. So I said, move me to New York, get me an apartment, get me an acting coach for 6 weeks, and I'll do that. And they went, that's a good idea. And I went, you're supposed to be thinking of those ideas. But it made sense that if I was going to be on stage in that capacity as the lead person. So what I tried to do in that role is really get the essence of who Louis Armstrong was as a person. I did not sort of do the voice, and it wasn't a one-on, spot-on impression. I thought in working with my acting coach that if I could get the spirit of what he was about, then that would relay itself to the audience. And if they could do something with the voice, because as you know, that can kind of, like if you're going, oh yeah, all night, it's like you're starting to get.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, it hurts after a while, you know. So if they wanted to do something with that, I said, but just let me sing as best as I can and let me play that trumpet and get the spirit of Louis Armstrong. But more than that, let me give people the happiness. And Louis Armstrong said, I'm here in the cause of happiness. And he said, if I would have never left New Orleans, I would have been just as happy. So what we see, and I was just trying to find out what made people and what drew him to people so much. And I think it was his simplicity, his authenticity, which we need more than ever now. Here's a guy who had all the faults that we had. Like me, he ate too much. He smoked cigarettes constantly. He smoked little cigarettes constantly. He had all these what some would perceive as faults, but yet he took what might be perceived as a fault, like his voice, and he amplified it. And he used it to his advantage. What might be considered a fault to somebody, he used that and he just like put it on display. See, I think that we're all composing a life, and Louis Armstrong found that process in composing his life, that the best thing you can be is yourself, right? Everybody's always trying to be somebody. Think about how individual he was. If he would go on American Idol, he would have been booed off the stage, right? They'd be like, well, what are you doing with that funny voice? Get that. And Simon would have been going off on him and boo, boo, you know. But Louis Armstrong, his authenticity, and that's what we're all looking for. We're looking to find, like, as we compose our own lives, what's that uniqueness about me? You know, I was teasing you before, I have this big gap in my teeth, you know, you guys can all see it here. And I always was self-conscious about that. And then I had a girl tell me one time, oh, that's so beautiful. I went, change of perspective here, you know?
That's right.
And what things should we be proud of? If you look closely, I have a little thing on my lip. It's from playing my trumpet, and I see Valerie is here. Hi, Valerie.
Valerie.
I'm a fan. We don't know each other so much, but I'm a big fan of yours. But if you look here, I've got this little thing on my lip, and I'm proud of that. Now it's tough when you're dating because people go, "Have you been tested for that?" You know, they wonder. You know, but this is a mark for me that I'm proud to have, and I'm sure Valerie's proud of his, and anybody else that has that on it. I'm proud, and I display it with pride. Here's how proud I am. You mentioned John Faddis earlier. When I was a kid, I saw him, and I saw Cootie Williams, and they had the thing too. In fact, they had a little skin off of theirs. They had played so much. Cootie Williams the same. And I tried to get that. I put my mouthpiece on the stove over the fire, and I tried to look at Valerie. He's like, "Don't do that." But I tried to get it because I so wanted that. And as you look at, for me, I'm looking at all the great trumpet players, and I'm like, they got the thing, and I wanted the thing, and I wanted the thing so bad. I wanted the thing, and so guess what? I got the thing now, but I don't really want it that much anymore.
You know, heading back for a minute to scroll back to Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that in our profession, in the jazz world, it all starts from Louis Armstrong, essentially.
Right.
We look to Louis Armstrong for our spirit, as you were saying, and our phrasing. I've often told singers that I've worked with, go listen to Louis Armstrong. Listen to how he phrases a song, whether he's playing or singing. Yes. Listen to that to inform what you need to try and accomplish.
Sure.
So Louis Armstrong. We have a clip of you, I think, doing some little tributes to Louis. Should it be Malaysian Orchestra or Sunny Side of the Street? What do you think?
Let's do Sunny Side of the Street. That's a more Louis thing.
That's number 2, Melissa.
Grab your coat, grab your hat, baby. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Now just direct your feet on the sunny side of the street. Yeah, now can't you hear the pitter and the patter? The happy tune is your step. Now life could be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Now I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade, but now I'm not afraid. My rover crossed over. Now if I never had 1 cent, I'd be rich as Rockefeller, with gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. Now get your coat, grab your hat, baby, leave your worries on the doorstep. Yeah, mama, life could be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Now can you hear the pitter and the patter? Oh, the happy tune is your step. Yeah, mama, life could be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Now you're not gonna believe this, but I used to walk in the shade. Yeah, with my blues on parade. Yeah, now mama, watch this one. Yeah, my rover crossed over. If I never had 1 cent, I'd be rich as a Bob Wilbur. Now the gold dust at my feet. Yeah, on the sunny side of the street.
My lips hurt from hearing that.
Mine do.
My goodness.
Mine do from over here. Jeez.
I think I started bleeding as the thing was going on there.
Here, here. That's
As
right.
Faddis would say, goodness gracious and a quarter.
I dug up a clip of you with Faddis and a couple others.
Oh my goodness.
We'll go for later. But you know, we mentioned Valerie. Valerie Panamarov, where are you?
He's right below me.
Let's unmute him and let him come say hello.
Unmute Valerie.
It's such a great pleasure, and I'm enjoying it so much. I'm having such great fun and learning so much. What else can I say?
It's great to see you, Valerie.
Thank you so much. The same here. Great to see you and Byron, of course, and everybody. And hearing Byron talk is such a great pleasure, and it's so educational. And hearing you play, oh my God! You know, what else can I say?
For those of you who don't know, we've had Valerie here a few times on our Summer Jazz Cafe and our Jazz in the Park series. So it's great to see him, and you're staying safe, I trust, Valerie.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And I hope everybody's safe and looking forward to the end of this crisis and getting out of the crisis all safe and happy. And
yeah, we want to have you back here again.
Our regular normal lives, you know.
Stay safe, because we want to have you back here again.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to be back, of course, in the theater, of course. And I mean, I can talk for days. I just don't want to take time from Byron.
All right. Well, it's great to see you. Back to Byron.
Byron, thank you so much.
Thank you, Valerie.
So,
hey, Byron, it's Wilbur Whitman.
Hey, Wilbur, what's going on?
You still playing Doug Johnson's Bach?
Yes, absolutely. Wow.
I love you, buddy.
Yes, and
old home week, folks.
I think Wilbur, I think I owe you $5 too. So let me get that in the mail tomorrow. I know.
I remember that. Listen, I sent his other trumpet out to Dr. Valves out in Chicago because it needed valve work, and it came back playing great. So I got the other one.
Yes, Wilbur, it's a joy to see you. And Joe, can I tell a quick story about what happened to me with Wilbur? So I was. You all should know that Bach trumpets, which I play, is a great brand, and I endorse them and all that. But I particularly like the old Bachs, which the company hates. They want me to like the new one, so everybody will buy them. Anyway, I pay no attention to that. And Wilbur had this friend of his that loved Bach trumpets, two old ones, and he came to our concert with. I was playing with Wilbur's big band, and he said, "Hey, you want to see some of my old Bach trumpets?" And I said, "Sure." We went in the back parking lot. He let me play them. There was one of them that was amazing. I said, "Would you ever sell this to me?" And Wilbur, you don't even know this. He said, "Absolutely not." Closed the trunk, and I said, "God, this guy's kind of a drag." Then that night at the concert, I think at intermission or something, he came up and he gave it to me. And it was an incredibly valuable trumpet.
Wow.
So thanks to Wilbur and then thanks to Doug Jones, I was able to get that trumpet. So I still remember that. And thank you, Wilbur, for that introduction. And thank Doug for me again. So
it's good to see you there with John Allred, too. He's another monster player.
He was on the stage there. Bob Wilbur was the leader. Joe Ascioni was on the drums. I don't know if you guys know Joe Ascioni.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we love him so much. And Mark Shane on piano. Can't remember the bass player, but yeah. So.
God bless you, buddy.
All right. Same to you, Wilbur.
We have a question from Carmen. I see that you recorded with Freddie Cole twice.
Yes.
And we just lost him, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah. Carmen, go ahead.
Recording with Freddie Cole in the studio with him was mostly about food, I have to say. The music
for those of you who don't know, Freddie was Nat King Cole's brother.
And he really had a voice and a sound of his own, in addition to sounding, because he was Nat Cole's brother, they had the same upbringing and the same blood. So he also had a sound very much like Nat, but he was very much his own person too. And when you start a recording session with Nat, with Freddie, man, the whole time is like, what are we going to have for lunch? And then delve deeply into finding a soul food restaurant. And what we would usually end up with is black-eyed peas, collard greens, lots of cornbread,
Grits.
chitlins if he could find them. Yeah, everything there. You did I say macaroni and cheese? All the staples, and then you had to have like sweet potato pie or peach cobbler. And he would try to get the ice cream where they could keep it so it wouldn't melt for the peach cobbler. And then once you finish that, then he's like, well, what's going to be for dinner? And I'm like, well, we gotta, let's get through this in a couple more songs. But the music was important, but I think the food made the music better for Freddie. He was absolutely a first-class musician. He knew how to pace a show. He knew how to sing a song. He knew all the standards, but it wasn't unusual for him to go and sing. A guy in his day, he died at like 88. He would go into a Stevie Wonder song. He would go into a Bill Withers song. He didn't care, and that speaks to us jazz musicians living in the field of infinite possibilities. And whatever sounds good, we're going to do that, and whatever makes people feel good. And that's why I think that during this pandemic, which has been given to us, and Valerie was talking about, we want to get to that next place. But I think, there's this old saying, they say when God wants to give you a present, he wraps it in a problem. And I think what the pandemic has done is given us a present. Now it also comes with a big problem, and those problems have become visible as we've gone through this, and it's up to us. Now here's another saying they always say, that problem you ignored is now 2 and 3, and it grows exponentially. And so the problems that maybe our country has ignored are continuing to grow exponentially until we courageously confront them. And so that's what I want to encourage our country to do. That's what I try to do every day of my life. And I try to actually add to that by doing it with music. Because we know with music, when you hear the sound of Louis Armstrong, when you hear the sound of Charlie Parker, when you hear the sound of Art Blakey, when you hear the sound of Kenny Dorham, when you hear those sounds, you know and you feel that there is hope in the darkness. And music provides that for you. So I want everybody on this Zoom call to know that it's there for you for the taking. And we want you to listen to music and let it lift you and let it move you and let its joyous sounds. And so when you hear Coltrane's Love Supreme, you will be lifted. Because our music is about that. That's what Ella Fitzgerald is about. When you hear her swinging on that tisket, a tasket, and she's singing How High the Moon, let that get into your bones and then go out and serve somebody else. Because that's why we're here. That's why we play music. We are here to serve people and uplift them. And I think that jazz, with its spontaneous nature, we're absolutely equipped to do that to people. So play on, as Shakespeare would say.
Really beautifully said, Byron. That's fantastic. And yes, we are due for a reset, and this could be very well our reset on so many levels.
Oh, I like that. Reset is a great word,
Sure.
And I think we have to
Mother Nature has a habit of doing that, right?
Yes.
A forest burns down, and it's really a reset for the foliage to grow back stronger.
Yeah. And I think part of that is we sometimes have to shift our thinking about things. We have to be innovative in our approach, but think of ourselves as re-engineering how things are thought of. And the world is requiring that of us. And we can either resist it or we can go with the flow. And again, there's that uncomfortable place where this change is going to sit. But until we can sit in it, we won't move any further. Nature, to your point, won't let us move any further until we do what we're supposed to be doing. So that's, we just want to use music here to move all of that forward and move that to the next place. And so that's why I showed up here tonight, to tell you to put on Louis Armstrong and let him tell you what a wonderful world we have.
Ooh,
let him just tell that to you. Yes, let him tell you that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. That's great. Yeah.
Look, if you really want to get deep, you got to go back to where it first started and listen to some of those old gospel songs. My grandmother used to tell me, she used to just sing the old Negro spirituals and songs like "Ain't Gonna Let Nobody Turn Me Around." But she'd also have ones like "I've Been Buked and I've Been Scorned and I've Been Talked About, Shows You Born." And she'd say, "I'm gonna move on up a little higher." And she'd say, "How I got over, my soul look back and wonder how I got over." These are all songs that are uplifting, or they speak of the pain that people have gone to. So what we do and what we know that the old folks did, the old folks I used to go to church with back in the day, the old folks, they would sing themselves out of depression. I once told my mom, I said, Mom, I said, I think I need to go to a therapist. I think if she said, you better start singing, boy. We don't have enough money for a therapist. He said, you better get out there and start singing. And then she put on some old good gospel for me. She put on some old, my father loved Miles Davis. And he didn't even know how, his two favorite albums were Four and More and Miles in Europe. He didn't even know what that was. He was a Duke Ellington, but he said, that's something special about that. And he put that stuff on, and that would, he said, this will make you feel good.
There you go.
That Miles Davis, you know. Yep. And you hear what is that one? Joshua, one of those ones like that, and it make you feel good. So that's what music is here for, and that's why we're here.
I hear that. I also know that we've been holed up so long, and you know it's not looking good. It looks like we're going to be holed up a little longer before we actually beat this thing. But while we are, I have a feeling that we're all going to start learning some kind of weird new skills. You know, we're all gathering new skills, Zooming and all this stuff. So, you know, not to mention some soul searching and some, like we talked about, resetting. I think we're going to come out okay. It may take a little while, but I think we're going to come out okay. So I appreciate your words. They're beautiful.
Yeah. Is
there let's see, something we can play? I'd like to play this number 4, Melissa.
Well, I don't know what number 4 is. I'm nervous.
I know. It's kind of a surprise.
I did some weird movies early in my life. You're not going to do those, are you?
No. That's strictly off limits.
Can you please turn up the volume?
It was Slide Hampton, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Melissa. I thought that was great.
Well, thank you for cutting that off early, because that was, the more I played, the more I sucked.
If you say so.
And then I had to play after, and I have to acknowledge the other trumpet players there. Mike Mossman was there.
Yep.
John Faddis was on my right, and then I'm sad to say that Claudio Roditi was there too.
Yeah, we lost him.
Lost him. Yeah. We just lost Claudio.
Claudio was also a dear friend and played many times down at our events.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's my Brazilian brother, and I was on many buses and many airplanes with Claudio, and he simply, you won't find a nicer person. You wouldn't have found a nicer person than him. So this was devastating to all of us when this happened. So lots of love to him and his wife. Well, I have to say, it's an amazing band that you just heard. The rhythm section, I think, for this band was Louis Nash on drums, Danilo Perez on piano.
Oh, yeah.
And George Mraz bass. And Texas were like Jimmy Heath, David Sanchez, and maybe James Moody on that. I can't remember which tour that was. And then on trombones was generally Steve Turre, Slide Hampton, Robin Eubanks. Something like that. Really an all-star band, and I had no business being there.
Absolutely, you certainly did. You certainly did. That's what it's all about. We have a question from Carmen. Carmen, do you want to ask that in person, like?
Okay, sure. This is a bit embarrassing, but you got quite the repertoire there. I'm looking at your list on Wikipedia, and you've got tons of recordings. And I noticed that one was Songs of the Last Century with George Michael.
Right.
And it has a long list of musicians. And it made me think of Natalie Cole's album, Unforgettable, where she recorded it in the studio, like in the old days, where they were in a big studio and recording the music at the same time. Was that recording process like that? Was it similar? Or did you guys all play separately?
So, as I remember the George Michael recording, and a couple things interesting about that. I didn't really know who George Michael was, so I always ask my wife.
I still don't.
Well, he was like huge,
Yeah, beyond.
Yeah, it's like amazingly huge.
Michael Jackson stratosphere.
Exactly. And so I asked my wife. She goes, "Oh my God, George Michael, you better have your stuff together, boy." And it's but you never know what you're doing in recording. So this contract called me. It's a female. I forgot her name, and the producer was Italian. He passed away. Phil Ramone. Phil Ramone was one of the amazing producers in us. I worked with Phil a lot.
Sure.
And so, but it was a weird session. So it was Phil, me, Michael. What's his name again? Michael.
George Michael.
George Michael. See, I'm a jazz guy. George Michael and just me. And they said, listen to this and try to play something along with it. It was one of those kind of sessions.
Okay.
And I can't
remember. Like it was a small session.
Yeah, they had already recorded all these tracks, and they wanted to try. I don't even know if the thing made it on there. I did a couple things for them, but it was really weird because, and I always have to be honest, hate those sessions where they say, "Hey, will you play something?" You know why? Because they're like, well, make it more green, make it flow. And they're giving you like all these things. I'm like, man, just write something out and let me play it. Cause I don't want to like have you be my artist and like paint for me, So it was one of those kind of sessions. And I had a ton of them. It was especially happen on jingles all the time. They're like, I have to tell one quick story about that. I did, a commercial for Aramis. This is so many years ago, I can tell you. Commercial for Aramis. I still have these commercials. And it's a small, big band and I got a call from the contracting people. It was a radio registry, was called back then. If you remember radio registry. And they said, trumpet, bring your trumpet, Byron, and plunger mute. And then they said, Cody Williams or something. I said, yeah, I got you. I got you. So the arranger was Don Sebesky, great arrangement. and the tune was "Those Fingers Through My Hair, da 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 da. It's witchcraft." If you remember that, Sinatra sang it. Sure. And so they said, "Give us a lot of Cootie Williams, greasy, stanky, moany." And so I went, and I put all my, and the grease was just running down my leg. It was nasty, and I just, it was like a shower of baking drippings all over me, you know. And I played that thing, and you wait when you finish a take. You wait for the booth, all the producers and the people up there, and I heard nothing. And the musicians went, "Byron, yeah, you know." I remember Jerry Dodgen was there, and Lou Tabakin, and Jim Pugh, the trombone player. "Yeah, Byron, good job, good job." But from the booth, we get nothing. I just see people kind of running around. And then the guy just goes, "Okay, let's try another one." I said, "All right. I got something for the ass now." And I growled even more, and I got nastier and greasier and stanky, and I did Cootie Williams better than Cootie. No, I didn't, but I did Cootie as best I could. Same thing, we finished. Band, "Byron, yeah, I heard you, baby. Woo, nasty, baby." And so they said, "Okay, I think we're good." That's not, see, this just silent as it is now. That's what it was. So I packed up my horn on the way out, and I said, "Is everything cool?" Guy said, "Yeah, it's all cool, man. Thank you, you know." So I called Sebesky afterwards, Don Sebesky, and I said, "Hey, man, that was weird. What went on?" He goes, "Well, the guy that made the demo was the buyer, the producer of the Aramis commercial. It was his son that made the demo, and his son just started playing trumpet. And he thinks his son sounds better than you." He said, "So they're going to go with his son for the commercial." And I actually heard the commercial, and they played it a lot in New York. And they put it so far in the back that it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Nobody even just heard the slight melody on that. That was a big build-up for a story, but that's the crap. How about one final commercial story? I'll do that for you. I'm way off Carmen's track here. So
no, it's fine.
I used to sing on commercials too, and got the same thing called Radio Registry. "Hey, sing on this commercial. Da 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 da. Show up at the studio, so the track's Roy laid down. I get in front of the thing. I don't really sight read vocal very well. I got to piano. They had a melody. I kind of got the melody together. And then they showed me the words, and I said, "No, this is a joke." So here's what I did, and I needed this money too, y'all. This is what the commercial I sang was all over New York on the radio all the time. "We'll fix your anal fissures and your hemorrhoids too. We'll vaporize your warts or that old tattoo. We'll pick you up in the morning, take you home at night. 1-800-MD-TUSH will treat you right. Call 1-800-MD-TUSH. That's CUSCH-TUSH. Get rid of those hemorrhoid blues. Call now, 'cause you ain't got nothing to lose except for a little pain or discomfort. And man, who needs that? Oh, yeah." So that was my debut in commercial in New York.
Cow.
The company was MD Tush. Final part of the story, I'm talking too much. Final part of the story, boy, this is hard to tell. I think I can tell this in as long as it's the final part of the story is a year later on the New York Times, New York Post, more sensational. I saw this cat on the front in handcuffs, and it was the owner of that company, the doctor. And what had happened is he would go in. The commercial was everywhere. They had posters on the subway and everything. What he would do is he would go in, and he would do the procedure of, it said free consultation was their thing. So during the consultation, he would actually do the procedure with a laser, and then he'd bill people. And so they busted him for doing that. He was on the front cover. He might be on this call. No. But
you never know. Yeah, commercials are a weird place. I have heard more than once. Can you make that sound more orange?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Pink.
Can you play happier?
Blue. Can you say, yeah, exactly. listen, Carmen happens to be our organization's development director. So I'd like
he's got the most important job.
That's right. I'd like to give it off to him for a minute and let him do a little commercial for us.
Hey, I'm just going to put a little note in the chat. You can go visit us at www.jazzartsproject.org/donate. I want to give a thank you to Byron here. This is a great interview, and thanks to Joe for coordinating this great series. We get to meet wonderful people who are your treasure, Byron. I didn't know much about you before tonight, but I'm going to study up on you and learn more about your recordings. I can actually find a lot of them, I believe, and you've worked really, really hard, so I'm going to be checking you out online. And so I just want to thank you guys for supporting us. We are in operation. Joe is working really hard getting the summer camp going, and as you can see, it's going to be a challenge this summer. We're going to be either open or closed, but whatever happens, something's going to be happening, and Joe's making sure of it. So we can use your support to help support this show, support Jazz Arts Academy through the summer, through the winter, and stay tuned. You're going to be hearing more from us. And come back next Monday and bring your friends.
Hey, if you don't mind, I'd love to echo Carmen's thing. You know, one thing that people could do is just call up Joe or Carmen and say, I want to help. What specifically thing can I fund? Like, and then that way they will direct you how you can help them and lift them up. Just imagine if the music stopped, and the music could stop if they don't get your support. So one thing you can do is like, hey, you know, here's what I like to do. Help me make that work. And if it's kids, they can lead you directly to that. If it's music, they can lead you directly to that. And sometimes that association is what people need. Just what specifically can they do? So I encourage you to contact Carmen and contact Joe, and they'll lead you down the path of righteousness. Amen.
Thank you. I might be, I don't know if you can hear me, but I might be calling you to record a spot for us.
Whatever you need, I'm there for you.
You look great.
I'm here to serve.
Oh, thank you.
You have a great organization over there in Columbus, Byron, and it's apparent that you are, you know, a driving force in that. And, you know, just your words alone are so poignant and great. And I appreciate them. I just got to say that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Carl Toplow from Cleveland says hello.
Oh, my God. You're Carl's brother?
Yes, I am.
He told me about you. Yeah. Can I say something? You cuter than him. And tell him I said that, too. It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Art is on our board of directors.
Okay, you got a good board of directors.
I think so. Yeah.
Byron, I get to play with Carl's orchestra once a year on New Year's Eve.
Okay, what's your instrument again?
I play piano.
Have mercy. All right, if you got a gig for me, I'll give you my number.
Yeah.
Gigs are few and far between now.
Right.
What happened? Something happened.
No, everything's good. We hear you loud and clear. You better talk before I start telling stories again.
I couldn't hear you for a second there.
Oh, okay.
There you go. I'm back. You're back, I should say. Jacqueline, are there any questions that I missed over in the...
There are. Diane asks, where was her question here? What trumpet do you currently play?
So I play, as I mentioned before, Bach trumpets. And if that's a gig, please get me on it, whoever's phone is ringing.
You got it. I told you never to call me here.
I play a Bach trumpet, and I play the older versions of those. And so, again, the company's still in existence, but I prefer what we call the New York Bachs. So the New York Bachs were the first Bach trumpets made. Then they went to like, it was New York. I can't remember. There are other places they went, but the New York Bachs were the original ones. My trumpet was made like in the 30s. So.
I wasn't sure if you still played that. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, Byron, you may not know me on this from this career of mine, but I was a classical trumpet player for many years. I studied with Vacchiano.
Okay, now you're bragging. I mean, come
on. Right. So, you know, when you say New York Bach, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I have one, and I have a whole arsenal still of trumpets collecting dust in the basement, unfortunately. But you know,
I can help you with those.
I like to say I'm a recovering trumpet player.
There you go. Yeah. Well, the trumpet that what I was talking about with Wilbur, the guy that owned it before was John Ware, I think was his name.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was his trumpet, and I'm lucky
he was the second. He was the second player to Vacchiano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's great. There's another question in the chat from Zach Lorelli. What was your favorite gig ever? Can you describe it?
The one I'm going to do next is the first answer. Am I muted? No, I'm not. Okay.
No,
I thought you were going to say this tonight.
But that's a complex question, and I'm always asked that. And so every gig to me is like Carnegie Hall. And so wherever it be, so it could be at a high school playing with a high school band, or it could be me conducting the Pittsburgh Symphony, or it could be playing in a jazz club, or it could be playing in Carnegie Hall. But it's like whatever I've just done or what's up on the docket. I don't spend a lot of time like reflecting. I mean, I journal a little bit, so I just know what I've done, but I'm on to the next one so I can make the next one better is particularly where I'm at, you know, and then I'll let history people try to figure out what was the best one or the one I enjoyed the most. I certainly enjoy traveling, and I certainly enjoy meeting new people, engaging with new cultures around the world, and that's important for me. But I think it also helps our insight into humanity, and I think with music is that's what we're always trying to find, the humanity of each other. If I could just step back and say once again, that's really what this period of time has become for us during COVID-19, is finding the humanity into each other. And think about what people like Clark Terry did. Clark Terry would go, and you could see him walking down the street, and maybe you'd never seen a black man walking around, and I'm talking about in the 60s, late 60s and 70s. He was playing with high school bands and college bands and things like that. One night it would be Oscar Peterson with Clark Terry, and the next night he's with this high school band or a college band. And here's the guarantee of that experience with those kids who got to see Clark Terry, is that they may not have known who he was when he walked in that room, but afterwards he spent at least an hour signing every program in that hall and talking to every kid and every mother and every father that stood there, because they fell in love with him from the music that they heard on that stage. They heard the sound of that flugelhorn, which was so beautiful. It was like a piece of dark chocolate melting in your mouth. It was so gorgeous. It was like this velvety sound. And you heard that and you got chills from that. And then you heard him sing a blues like, my gal's got great big legs, and she's built up from the ground. And he'd sing that blues and make you feel good, and you'd hear him talk about his girlfriend. And then he would end the whole thing with mumbles, which you didn't even understand, but you knew it was nasty and fun and happy and all those things put together. And then all these people fell in love with this man who they probably never heard of, but they just knew he was soloing with their local high school band. If you want to find out the humanity of music, find it through jazz and find it through a person like that. And they're all around you. All we have to do as a country is open our hearts, and the music will go in there, and it will just bring so much joy to us. The joyous sound of jazz is here to uplift us all, and all music is that way. So if you want a religious experience, go put on Miles Ahead. That'll do it for you. Go put on Miles Ahead. And there's so many others too.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Byron, what's the best way to stay in touch with you? Are you on Facebook? Do you have a newsletter? How can we stay in touch with you?
Oh, I thought this was a personal thing with us. I was going to say we could do this offline.
Sure.
No.
How can they find you?
People can go to my website and it'll have a thing on there. Don't click my manager's name. Just click my name. She'll want money from you, but just click my name, and there's a personal email that comes right to me. And I'd love to hear from anybody that has questions, concerns, or hates me. So.
I just posted a little poll. just for fun.
Okay.
Feel free to everybody feel free to vote.
Yeah. I like that one.
Little Ellington
yeah.
Little statement there.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of what Duke Ellington said about Clark Terry, and he said of his playing, he said he's beyond category. And he was one of those musicians. A lot of people don't realize that Norman Granz paid Clark Terry not to play the flugelhorn. He didn't want him to play the flugelhorn. Norman Granz, and those of you who don't know who Norman Granz was, he was one of the great jazz producers. Impresarios. He was Ella Fitzgerald's manager and Oscar Peterson's manager. And the great thing about Norman Granz was he gave jazz respectability. And one thing that he demanded of the musicians was that they wear tuxedos. And he put them in concert halls and got them out of the clubs. I still played clubs, but he was able to get jazz in the concert hall. And for that reason, jazz got a wider exposure. He started Verve Records, and that went crazy. People fell in love with Ella, Oscar Peterson, Clark Terry, Ray Brown, all of these great jazz musicians that we love so much because of Norman Granz. And he took care of the musicians, and he put them on the level of great classical musicians. And so one thing that he did is he demanded the promoters respect those musicians. And one of the ways that he did that is like, first of all, Ella Fitzgerald's got to have her own dressing room. The musicians have to have a dinner in between the sound check and rehearsal, on and on and on. And if you couldn't satisfy that, he would just leave. And not only would he leave, he'd say, guys, this guy's not acting right. This promoter's not acting right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you to a nice dinner tonight. Lots of good wine. Lots of good wine tonight, because we are respectable musicians and we will be treated as such. Otherwise, we don't play in these places.
There you go. So, folks, having said that, I am going to share a little bit of Clark Terry for everybody, just so, since he seems to be the man of the hour, is a dear friend of all of ours. Certainly, I had the good fortune of conducting for him a couple of times, and it was just a joy, and like the greatest time. So I'm going to share a little something of Mumbles. Let's see if I can be able to do this right. Can everybody hear this?
Yes.
He's able to live it. She feels you have a little lip up. She speaks to stick little lip up the bounce. She be won't leave on the lip up. He won't leave on the people love. She split the hang to beside the front together with the people that level but the spring is slightly guy and the fling is slightly guy, but the she know the world level they got a little lot. She will be for this. She will be for this. Changed to the highest sludge, but they came down with the hickey called with the guy to go down. She's the splash, but they couldn't, but they get it in blended sludge. And the flame was like together. Now, if the big dog they give the school slides, you know what they got that. But if it's flown along, and he fooled on they hang a flown along, and he came for hang along and they say, hey! He was flown for the country's clinic. Now, if the flank is clown, they go. But seriously, if the thing to go who the higgis was on the hoover, it was a game. But the slow and the him and hang it out. But you know what? If I keep talking like this, I'm starting to get elected.
How can you not love that?
There he is, right?
And how can you not smile when you hear that, right?
Exactly.
You know,
the thing is, with him and Louis Armstrong we talked about earlier, it's the man, the personality that comes through the music.
Sure.
Yeah. It's the person's essence and energy that the best of us are able to portray through the music.
Yes, and that's part of his humanity. When you saw and heard Clark Terry do what he just did, that was him off stage and on stage. And I'm told the very same thing for Louis Armstrong. So if you want to experience the humanity of great musicians, really just listen to their music, So great stuff. I did see a question somebody asked me about, what was the one? Oh, going to the Queens College Museum or something.
Oh, the Louis Armstrong Museum, right?
Right. So as I studied to prepare for Satchmo. Well, that museum didn't exist in 1987, 88 when I was doing that. However, when they had the opening of it, I played Louis Armstrong's parts. They put together a big band, and I got to play all of Louis Armstrong's parts for that. It was Lauren Schoenberg's band with special guest Lionel Hampton, and I was also the Louis Armstrong guest. So that was a fun thing. So I opened that, and then after that, I started playing concerts once a year in Louis Armstrong's backyard with his bass player Arvell Shaw, who many people might know.
Oh yeah,
I was with Arvell Shaw's band. It's called the Louis Armstrong Legacy Band for many years, and so that's how all that stuff ended up with hanging out at the Louis Armstrong house. Quick story about the Louis Armstrong house. And I don't know if you've interviewed Ricky Riccardi, but he's in charge of that whole scene there. But
we've actually had him at a Talkin' Jazz event in the past, and he's slated to come on one of these. Yes.
Yes, he's the greatest, and he's like my brother. And he told me recently, people get off the plane in LaGuardia or Kennedy, and they say, "Hey, are you guys open?" I say, "Yes, we're open." He goes, "I just got off the plane. Can I come now? I've got my luggage with me." They're like, "Yeah, fine. Bring your luggage and we'll store it." And he said people literally walk in the house and they start crying. So when we talk about the humanity of this music, that's the effect that Louis Armstrong has on people. Is that a guy that's been dead since 1971, but we still feel his spirit. And that's why I want to just continue to remind people that the music is there to serve you in that way. And we want you to go to that music anytime that you feel down, anytime you want to be lifted even higher than you are. It's there for you, and it's there to lift you. So we encourage you to keep doing that with the music.
There you go. Any other questions? Otherwise,
no questions. I'll have to sing. There
you go. Wait a minute. Don't I have a little clip? I can play the Malaysian Orchestra, maybe?
Yeah, the Malaysian Philharmonic Orchestra. I played with them like 3 times.
Either that or St. Louis Blues.
Do St. Louis Blues. Do St. Louis Blues.
It's number 3, Melissa.
It's short.
Oh, the man
Okay, there you go. You know what my take on that is?
What's that?
Seems like the string section didn't get the white jacket memo.
Oh gosh. So that was in the Vail, Colorado, and what they do is they bring in 3 to 4 orchestras a year or a summer, every summer. Typically, the New York Philharmonic, the Philadelphia Orchestra. That was the Dallas Symphony. I think they're still bringing them in. Of course, this year they're not bringing in anybody. And I took
Were you able to breathe up there? Last time I was in
I've never had any problems, but now you might jinx me because they say it could come on at any time. No, seriously, like you could go there, and for folks who don't know, we're talking about the high altitude. You could go there 10 times and not have any problem, and you go there your 11th time, and all of a sudden it hits you. So
right, wow.
But I've never had any problem.
Last time I was there, it was murder, really.
Sure, yeah.
And I've been there before, so you're right. I guess it can come on.
I mean, I have shows with a tap dancer, and he was throwing up the whole time he was there. So it's tough. Seriously, it's tough because the altitude makes people just lose it.
The first thing you learn is how to take the stairs very slowly.
Right.
I thought we had one other question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Any artists of today or this generation you think we should be listening to today?
Yes. But I'm horrible with names. This trumpet is Bria Skolmberg for sure. Another one you haven't heard of is Tony Glaucy. He's emerging. Of course, Sean Jones and Terrell Stafford are 2 trumpet players. You got it, both of them. Sean Jones is a genius of the trumpet, and Terrell Stafford is yet another one. And then on sax, I'm just going off the top of my head because I love so many. Joel Fromm is one that you have to listen to of the new guys coming through. One of the old staples still around and still young to my eyes is Ken Pawlowski on clarinet and sax. And if you haven't had him play with your band, you have to because he's required listening for everybody. And let's go to trombone, that trombone player that was on the Bob Wilbur thing that I played for you early. I'll think of his name. Wycliffe Gordon is very important to the music,
We've had Wycliffe here.
Yeah. So these are amazing people. The hard thing, I just get so affected with, we played the video before with Clark Terry, the one that you played, and in the background there, they panned in really fast. That was Roy Hargrove back there, and then we lost him, and it's just hard for me to look at people who I love and admire and respect and were my friends, and to see them leave me. I guess it just means I'm getting old, but I so love the great jazz musicians, and the ones that are living and also the ones that have left us, and they leave an indelible imprint on everything that I do. And so
Byron,
I just hope. Go ahead.
Byron, we count you amongst those musicians to continue to listen to as well. And I certainly want you to stay safe because we need you. And congratulations on all you're doing and have done. And, your great words are very inspiring to us, I'm sure all of us. So I really want to thank you for doing this tonight.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I also need to thank Ocean First Bank for helping us out here. They are presenting partners, and they will remain so for the rest of this year. It was very kind of them to help us out with this. So we are moving on, and we're going to continue these Monday evening performances or soirees, whatever you want to call it. Hang. We should just call it the Monday Hang. But we're calling it Mondays with Mooch. And next week, I don't yet can't announce who it's going to be next week. I will know for sure within a day or two. So we'll send out an announcement about that. Theoretically, you are all on our mailing list, so you will find out about next week. But rest assured, we'll have a guest every week, and we'll have fun, and we'll listen to more music. And like that, Byron, such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, everybody. I look forward to seeing everybody on a stage very soon.
There you go. There you go. And you're going to have to let us know when you're in this area, because maybe we can arrange something down here.
I will, definitely. Thank you.
And as our usual custom, we're going to hang a little bit after. I'll end the proceedings, and if those of you want to hang a little bit and chat, we can do that. So thanks so much for attending, and we'll hopefully see you all next week.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jacqueline.